1. There we go. No?
Gilbert.
Tibor.
Ross.
Sheila, Anita, Josh,
Linda,
Arvo.
Paula,
Michael.
Sandra,
Cindy,
Andy.
Tasha,
Joseph.
Jacinta,
Marty.
Cole.
Julia,
Kavisha,
Steve.
Kavisha, Jane and Steve.
Sabina, Mitra,
Dean.
Zuma,
and
Sister.
Bob.
Here we go again. Same old, same old. Good to see you all.
me too.
All the happy faces. All expressions of the one life, the one intelligence energy, in all its different ways. Only that. And a lot of you here are recognising it and knowing that now already. There's a lot of people that don't realise that it is all the one essence, the one life, only that. The great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. And there's nobody here who is unaware right now. Isn't that a fact? Anybody who's not aware, jump up and tell me. We'd like to see it. I don't see anybody jumping up. No one who's not happy to be. We don't want to be dead right now. And the existence is there. And it's all expressions of life. Oh. And that's all there is. As Nisargadatta tells us, there's only life. There's no body who lives a life. Life is living and expressing as everybody and everything. So you are not the body. You are not the mind. The mind is just thought, word, idea, image, a vibration, a movement of energy. Just the same as the body is, made up of elements, air, earth, fire, water, space. But the way it's expressing implies it's suffused with an innate intelligence, a knowing, because it's not an accidental manifestation. Each and you and every one of us are part of the manifestation. Not accidental. It's happening, patterning, shaping, forming in an intelligent way. Intelligence is knowing. And there isn't anyone here who is not knowing. Being, knowing, and loving to be, or existence, consciousness, bliss, as they put it in Hinduism, as Advaita. And as I say, you can't say you're not existing, you can't say you're not aware, and you can't say you're unhappy to be. You don't want to be dead right now. So you are that. And most of the people believe they've got to become something, because that is not good enough. And yet we all know that is the great mantra, I am that. And you see it and know it already, because that's the chair you're sitting in, that's the room the chair's in, that's the space in the room, that's the tree, that's the flower. Everything is that, which we've discriminated with the word. And they tell us the word is not the thing, it's not the reality. And you recognise that too when it's investigated. How many words were you born with? And you realise you weren't born with any words. And you didn't learn words till you were a couple of years old. 2, 2.5, somewhere around that age, earlier or later. All depends how the pattern is expressing. And the word is not the thing. We've picked up words along the way, and the word's not it. Take the word water. Can you drink it? Can you swim in it? Will you drown in it? You can't drown in the word. The word fire. Can you cook with it? Heat yourself with it, or burn yourself with it? Look at the words in it. They're not what they appear, what we think they are. So they're not the real. And when you recognise that the word didn't come upon you until you're about 2 years old, you must remember that the word is what we call mind or thought, that you are prior to the word, you're prior to the mind. And we take ourselves to be this body-mind, a body made up of elements, earth, fire, water, space. We say my body, my mind. We say my coat, my car. But you're not the coat, the car, nor are you the mind or the body. You are that one intelligence entity or one life, the absolute, the great perfection, or if you like to use the term God, you can call it God, if you like. That is absolute. And that includes each and every one of you and everything else in this manifestation. It is absolute, or the great perfection. And if it's absolute, what can you add to absolute? Can't add anything to it, or take anything away from it. Or the great perfection, you can't add anything to that, or take about it, what those words are implying or referring to. And they tell you in Buddhism, the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. It's that awareness, and none of you is unaware right now, that already is. And if it is absolute, and you recognise that, you can't add anything to absolute, you can't take anything away from it. So who can be superior to you? Who can be inferior to you? And what would you want from anybody else? All that one essence. So that's why I say I'm not speaking to anybody. I'm not speaking to any mind. I'm speaking to that I am that I am. That I am is not the concept I am, but represents the sense of presence, the knowing that you are. Each and every one of us knows that I am. Speaking of that I am that I am, not to anything else. And that's what we point to and ask you to look at and investigate and see if this is so. The thoughts and the words are not the real, and every word you've ever spoken or ever likely to speak has been learned. Well, how did you come into existence? We think you are this body mind. How did you come into existence? Well, have a look at that. Just like everything else in this manifestation is an adornment of space. Have a look at space. What's the first thing you see? It's space. Before you look out and you'll see it, most people will say, oh, I see that object or this or that. But space is the closest thing to your eyes, the very first thing you see. And you look around, you see, which we haven't noticed, a lot of us, there's space all around us. Now have a look at space. Can you find a beginning to space? When you search as much as you like, you can't find any beginning to it. Can you find any end to it? You can't find any end to it. Does it have any boundaries? Can't find any boundaries. Any centre, any circumference. It is no thing, has no pattern, shape or form. But can you postulate or think of anything at all that could be outside of space? We are all in space right here, right now, in that space-like awareness. So Space is no thing, but all this manifestation is appearing in space. So it's just nothing but adornments of space. Nothing can, space is nothing whatsoever, but all these manifestations or adornments appear in that space. So really, everything is no thing, because can something come from nothing? You realise it can't. So though it's appearing as something, everything is already no thing, and no thing is everything. It's all the one essence. I tell you that in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. That's all that God is a word, another label we put on that intelligence, energy, or life itself. All things were made by Him, by the Word. And isn't that so? We've got words for everything. And there was nothing made that was made without the Word. So that's what we've learnt, these words. Take the words to be real and get lost in the Word by separating it and thinking the Word has some power, an independent nature of itself. It is the thing, but it's not. I take the story of Adam and Eve, for instance. In paradise, what happened? They ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, meaning they picked up words. As soon as they learnt words, they're cast out of paradise. And that's what seemingly happened to all of us. We picked up words, and taking the word to be real, we lose sight of our true nature. Where did you come from? How did you come about? Well, we'll go back and look into that too. Go back as far as your father and your mother. That animating life essence that pattern shaped and formed your father enabled in that pattern a microscopic particle called a sperm to form. That sperm was suffused with intelligence, energy, or life. It knew what to do. And the same with the mother. That animating life essence in your mother enabled in that pattern an egg or an ovum to form. Microscopic particle. That egg was suffused with intelligence. It attached itself to the wall of the uterus. And the sperm swam to the ovum, implying the life was there even then. And the sperm and ovum mingled together, those two fluids mingled together, and what happened? The little embryo, the little fetus, which is what you are today, was formed. That's when the pattern shape form came into existence, and then that didn't pick up words for the next seeming concept of time, which is another concept. We learnt the words and taken on the idea that we are the separate entity, this person. Person comes from the ancient Latin persona, the mask. So we've got this mask of concepts. I am so-and-so. And we keep relating to that mask that got with other words. And relationship is relative to. And relative to anything is dualism. We're talking about Advaita, non-duality, one without a second. So we've got the concept or idea of this dualistic. We are this dualistic pattern. Now, everything is that one essence, what the Buddha calls the cognizing emptiness. We think we have to cognize the emptiness or know the emptiness. But it's not. It means that the emptiness is doing the cognizing. It's not we are cognizing. It's the emptiness, that intelligence entity, that life has the capacity of knowing or cognizing. And he made the statement then that emptiness is form. So pointing out that all this manifestation, the pattern, shapes and forms, are emptiness. For he turned it round the other way, saying emptiness is form, and the form can be nothing other than the emptiness. So that's what we are. That emptiness. It has the pattern of functioning, vibrating into all this intelligence energy, like everything is that one essence. And there is no separation. It is the one. No separate entity. But we picked up the words and believe the words are separate. As Shakespeare told you 300 or 400 years ago, nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. How do you think? Well, have a look. It's either good, bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, loving, hating, positive, negative, always in the interrelated pairs of opposites. And we separate them. But there is nothing separate in nature. It's all the one essence. And in that separation, we're seemingly dividing the absolute into separate things. And that's where the conflict comes in. Have a look, see how that works. Something comes up and you like it. How do you know? Well, you've had this feeling before, this sensation, and it's good. And we don't want the good things to go. We want to keep them there, not realising that this manifestation is transient. It's constantly changing. This body that we're sitting in right now is constantly changing. There are thousands of cells dying in it right now and being replaced. It's not the same body you walked into the room with. Constantly changing. So when something comes up we like, we don't want it to change. We want to keep it there. We don't want the bad. Not realising that it's transient, you can't do anything about it. So what do? Trying to keep it there, we resist it. And resistance is conflict. If you're resisting something, you're in conflict with it. And conflict, that conflict makes you uneasy. Other words come up and all the rest of it, and we become uneasy, anxious, fearful, resentful. All the psychological problems come up because of that resistance. And that resistance is uneasiness. Another word for uneasiness is disease. Resistance, conflict and disease. What about something comes up that we don't like? Oh, I shouldn't be thinking that. That's a terrible thought. I'm a sinner. I'm an evil person. We don't want to keep that there. We try to get rid of that, so we resist that too. Conflict and disease. And that's what our life consists of. Constant resistance, constant conflict and going to disease. And as Wei Wu Wei says, why are you unhappy? Because everything you say, everything you think and everything you do is for yourself. And there isn't one. We've got this conceptual image of being this person, this separate entity, this individual, and there isn't one. And that, as we just pointed out, is the cause of all your unhappiness, your sickness, your anxiousness, your anxiety, your jealousy, envy, and all this psychological suffering is a cause by this believed in me. What's the me? This which happened when the capacity of reasoning developed at about 2.5, and I learnt words from the parents. And they tell you little Johnny or little Jean or Jane or whatever your name might be, Bill, and you learn words like I and me. We put that label on ourselves. I am Jane or Jean. This is me. Somebody asks you who you are today, you'll say it. I am so-and-so, whatever your name might be. I think we've got the belief that we are this person, this separate entity. It's only because the word was taken up and believed to be so. And so then everything is related to this believed in entity which we call I or me. And that me is the cause of all this psychological suffering, because it's only me that can be unhappy. Only me that can be fearful or anxious or diseased or whatever. Me is the cause of all this psychological suffering. And the effects are the anxiety, the stress, the jealousy. Cause and effect. Duality. What happens if I looked at the cause, me, this concept of belief that I am this person, this body, mind, and recognise that I am not the person, I am the light and life or intelligence, energy, or the absolute beingness. If I'm not relating to the me, the cause, can there be an effect? Have a look and see for yourself and recognise that they're not relating to the cause, there can't be the effect. So if you're not related to the cause, me, who is it that's going to be unhappy, fearful or anxious? If you're absolute, you must realise that you are absolute totality. Nothing can be added to you, nothing can take it away. And from that aspect, what would you want from anybody else? No one superior to you, no one inferior to you, and need nothing from anybody else. It is this presence awareness, the timeless space. Space, time, is the one aspect of every timeless. There's no such thing as time when you look into it. Is there a past? If you don't think about it. You can't say there's a past if you don't think about it. And try and live yesterday or 10 minutes ago. You can't go back and live it. You can recall it. And what you're recalling, bringing into this present, is not everything, because there'll be a lot of it you'll forget. It's only what can be recalled, can be brought into the present moment. So you can't live in the past. What about the future? Well, the future is anticipation and imagination. You can't tell me what you're going to do when we leave this room, but you can anticipate and imagine what we're going to do, but it won't be the actuality. So, past is dead and gone, future hasn't arrived. What about this presence? Well, have a look at that. This presence is spontaneous. Right here and now, I know. I know that I am. But here, I know not I am not this body or mind. I am that awareness of being, that sense of presence. And there it is, being, knowing, and loving to be. Again, it's that Chaitanya, awareness of being. Anyone who's not being, realise that being is not becoming. Call ourselves a human being. Believe in God, you'll call God the Supreme Being. Take away the word human, take away the word supreme. Try and negate your beingness, the knowing that you are. That's one thing you can't say, I am not. You can say it like you can say everything else. But everything you say and do couldn't happen if that being, that life wasn't there. You couldn't have a thought, feeling and emotion without that pattern, shape and form that's expressing as this body. It's that life itself, that beingness, that forms these shapes, patterns and forms. As I say, how you're formed out of the life of your father, so-called father and mother coming together. That's what intelligence energy is doing. So you see that all these patterns, shapes and forms are appearance only. And that's what they call a phenomenal manifestation. The definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. There's only the one, the beingness, the one reality, the one essence, the one, and you are that. Could there be any other if you weren't there? For you, if you're not there, you couldn't say there would be anything other. So, without and expressing in that pattern you call you go back to that reality, the one essence, the one life, which is no thing. So everything in this manifestation relies on what you can believe to be you, that entity. So when you see to recognise that the believed in you or me is the cause of all your problems, instead of relying on the me anymore, take yourself to be that life. That's what Christ told you. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. Not talking about himself, but talking about that sense of presence. The sense of being aware right now, the presence of awareness is life. And points out there is only life. There is nobody who lives a life. And Nisargadatta tells us that also when he says, nothing can trouble you except in your own imagination. It's an amazing statement, isn't it? Nothing can trouble you. Look at the trouble we're getting into with the belief we are this entity. But without imaging this or imagining that, without any imaging, what can you say about it? It's only this spontaneous moment which you call now, and you can't even put that now on it. Now has no beginning, no ending, no birth, no death. It's spontaneous intelligence or knowing. And that is what everything is that. It's only the one life, the one essence, the one intelligence, pure being. And is expressing through and as you to know itself. So see that life that's resonating now right where you are, that's enabling the thoughts to come up, the breath to happen, the heart to beat, the earth to roll around the sun, the seasons to come and go, the tides to come in and out. Doing everything to express and experience itself. And that's what you are. And that's what we point to. And there's quite a few of it here that recognise this now, where before, like with all of us, we got in that idea we are this person, this separate entity, and suffering accordingly, in the recognition of it, seeing and recognising the true nature, and it has what they call an enlightening effect. You feel a lot better, a lot lighter, not burdened down by all the concepts and anxieties and stresses that we had. And I've gone blank. And that's how it is, it goes blank at times. But the beingness still there. Not unaware. Pure knowing, pure seeing, pure hearing. A cognising emptiness, a recognising. Each and every one of you are that. Very uplifting. So, Kat, you can carry on and get what's coming over the thing now. And you can tell us all about it. Don't hesitate to express it. People sit there and don't say anything, but you can tell us about it. And if you've got any doubt, because you might say it in some words that somebody else might resonate with and hear it. And if you've got any doubts, you're new here and want any questions, don't hesitate to ask them, because you might hear something that'll resonate with you. There you go. Come on.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. And we have 20 few people with us from our online community. A lot of good morning to everyone messages, and a beautiful comment from Patricia saying, thank you, it is always truth itself manifesting as you speak. And so it is really a request to look and see directly what is known directly in that natural state, what is known and not believed. That is the difference. That is what makes non-duality not yet another philosophical system in which you agree or disagree with a set of concepts which you adopt or not adopt. No concepts are required, no belief is required, quite the contrary. See directly what you have been told and discard it, and check, are you really this body? Because that's you were told. Are you really this mind? Can you actually experience directly being that or the other? Obviously, if you experience being an object, where are you experiencing that from? Where is that experience happening? So it is really just a simple investigation and finding out the truth for yourself, rather than believing someone or the other. Just finding that natural state, what is always there, the reality, which is that which never changes. Reality which is always underlying passing beliefs, passing ideas, thoughts, experiences, sensations. And as beautifully Bob introduced you to how it all came into that beautiful elaborated dance, the dream, in which everything seems so solid and real. How it came about through that amazing machinery, interpreting everything and making sense and giving meaning. As you see how that trick is being done, you can enjoy watching it done, but from the position of being free to watch, from the freedom of psychological suffering, when all of that is happening as a natural experiencing and expression of life, rather than happening to me, to poor me, to pathetic little me, to whatever the concept of me is, which the concept is also changing all the time. So I would like to invite you, we have another thank you messages, to grab that mic on that magic wand and share, ask questions, tell us how you're going with that. And people who came later, welcome. And tell us all about it. This is the time where we actually share the message, because there is no one in this room who doesn't already know that you exist. Beyond doubt, it is not something that someone told you. The awareness of presence, or presence of awareness, is yours since birth, before you even learn words to cover it up, all that clear sky of knowing, cover it up with the clouds of concepts. So everyone is already knowing that they are, and knowing that you are is a Mahavakya, that you are. You know that you are. Mahavakya, that you are. So share that knowing. And if there's anything standing in a way or obscuring that knowing, bring it on. We'll look at it and dispel it with the light of consciousness. Who would like to start?
I'm from Sweden, so I can give you a Swedish touch to it.
Please.
You know, we have this Nobel Prize. All the big scientists get a reward for bringing new knowledge to the world, but you can never get the Nobel Prize in answering the question, who am I? Because then you have to add something, new knowledge, and you can't add anything, and you can't take anything away. So Nobel Prize in science is not the way. It's impossible to get. Yeah, that's about it.
Nobel Prize in not knowing.
You can't get what you already are.
No.
You can't, and you cannot not get it. You cannot
No.
not know that you are, but what you are is beyond comprehension, because objectifying subjectivity is ridiculous. But yeah, can't get it into scientific terms. It limits it. Every language limits it.
I was just going to say there's a lot of Nobel Prize winners in here, actually, including myself. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about my Nobel Prize that I won. No, but I think Dean could probably touch on this.
Dean, you were invited to speak.
Yeah, I know.
Don't decline.
Oh, no, I don't have any.
Okay, Steve will help you.
Gilbert.
Oh, Gilbert.
Sorry, were you going to...
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's interesting what was just brought up, because last night I remembered a movie called The Yellow Brick Road, and what a classic it was, because the one thing, I watched it 3 or 4 times, but I never gathered what was actually happening at the end. And the beauty about it was that the guy that needed, or the character that needed the brain, for instance, he handed him a diploma, and the guy that needed courage, the lion needed courage, and so he handed him a medal. So, and that really sort of resonates exactly what we're on about here. That we seek reward, and we seek all these things when we lose ourselves from or step out of pure consciousness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Gilbert?
Yeah, so the Nobel Prize. What about the Ig Nobel Prize? I am that.
That's a good one.
Siddhara Meshwar was Nisargadatta's guru, and there's just a short line in a book that Bob loaned me many years ago to look at, called Amritalaya. But it's just a short line, and it really hit me. And the line is, do not try to see through somebody else's eyes. And it really sort of cuts through everything, because that's what we do. We're trying to, what do you think of me? You're trying to get build up my image of myself through others or whatever. But when it comes to insight, we have to see for ourselves. We can't expect somebody else to see for us, and to recognise that the seeing is spontaneously happening. Life is spontaneous. Intelligence is spontaneous. And the word spontaneous means uncaused. So life has no cause. Nobody can tell you where it came from, or they come up with a theory of a Big Bang, and they say that consciousness comes out of the brain, but it's all consciousness. And you could say that consciousness is doing everything. So give credit where credit is due, and the self-centre is a fiction. You can't find it if you go looking for it. you call that an investigation. There are some teachers who say that there is no investigation. Well, what good is that? Have a look, see if you can find this self-centre, this me. And all you find is a bunch of ideas, images and memories. And the thing about the me of memory is you can't trust it. You cannot trust memory. Like this moment right now has infinite details in it. Just by looking around you see there's infinite. You go outside, it's infinite details. You cannot capture those details and put it into a memory. So the immediacy of life, intelligence, cannot be stored in memory. And that's a relief, because it means you don't have to memorize anything. You know, as Bob says, are you unaware right now? Spontaneously it comes up, no, I'm not unaware. So that means that the awareness is spontaneous. It also means it's effortless. So all of this seeking and making efforts and methods and practices is really just moving away into a mechanical belief system. And you are not that. We are not Newtonian creatures. You know, when Newton came up with this idea of the mechanical blah blah blah, all the philosophy started to replicate that. You know, the idea that human beings were machines, you know. And that lasted a while, and then computers came along, and then this idea of we're all programmed. You know, we're all programmed robots or whatever. Now we've got AI, artificial intelligence. Well, there's no such thing as artificial intelligence. It's all intelligence, appearing as patterns, and it's singular. And you are that singularity. And by believing in the self-centre, we have psychological suffering, and it's not necessary. So in a way, we're beating ourselves up with words that we've learned. You know, the typical example is somebody from the so-called lower class says, I'm no good, I'll never amount to anything. That's a mantra. That's a mantra for hypnotising yourself. And it's not really the self, it's the believed in entity that's seemingly hypnotised. But come back to the awareness is spontaneous, effortless, it's always there. You can call it witnessing, you can call it anything you want, but it's always there. And even in deep sleep it's there, because if somebody bangs on that door loud enough, the consciousness will stir and you'll go and answer the door. That means that awareness is there, even when it's seemingly not there. So the base is awareness. Consciousness is the content of consciousness, is the display of consciousness, which is everything. One essence expressing and appearing as everything, as Bob's third book, I think it is called. So, effortless. You know, awareness is effortless. Are you unaware right now? No. What idiot would say, no, I'm unaware. I'm not conscious. You know, I'm a limited creature. Now listen to my poor story of me. You know, I had a hard childhood, blah, 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 blah. This is like dog vomit. A dog will eat its own vomit. It won't let another dog eat its vomit. But we vomit our sad story and we expect everyone else to eat it. I say no more.
I have, thank you. I have a couple of comments here from the, Ariel says, thank you for the reflection of clarity. So grateful. That was when Bob was still speaking. And Adrian, Bob made the comment that awareness to know itself. Can you comment on this? This is from Adrian. And there is a postscriptum. Postscriptum, sorry I can't be there and bring coffees. Oh, sorry you couldn't bring coffees. And he says, just letting everyone know, Bob and Kat love an almond decaf latte, if you ever want to bring them one on a Sunday morning. Well, we did have the occurrence that we had like a double delivery of almond decaf lattes, so I don't know, perhaps if there is a communication between people, maybe you should start a WhatsApp group or something. Don't get too much.
Might have
Sometimes-
a dozen next week.
Yes, would you like to comment on the
What was it again?
awareness wants to know itself?
Self-knowing.
Self-knowing.
Yeah. Self-aware, isn't it?
Self-aware, yeah.
Self-shining, self-seeing, self-tasting. It's the one self, patterning, shaping, forming, expressing as everything.
And of course, everything is just a concept, and the idea that it wants something or it doesn't want anything is just a pointer, because it's self-evident that it does know itself. So we may assume that because it does know itself through everyone, nobody does not know that they are. So that's that self-knowing. So because it is happening, we can reasonably assume that that's what it is wanted in a way, because there is no conflict between what is and what is. There is no desire. It's not fulfilled in that cognizing emptiness. And there is Ariel commenting on when Gilbert was saying. She says, thanks, Gilbert. It is like when we stop needing to get someone knowing from another, it can paradoxically be heard coming from another. Yeah, it may seem this way. This is, when Bob speaks, he doesn't ask anyone to believe in anything. He's just offering that frequency of clarity to resonate, to touch something that is in you already, innately knowing it. And it responds, of course. So there is nothing that needs to be learned. It is a recognition of what is always and forever so. So it is really decluttering or unlearning the rubbish that obscures it. It's that simple. And then Vivek says, Advaita is ancient Indian wisdom being revealed, discussed time and again. Non-duality is about simple self without any attributes, while Nobel Prize gives a sense of being special, adornment, while me is ever existing without any crown.
That's nice. I like that. No crown.
Yeah, no crown. Yeah, sweet. Thank you, Vivek. Anyone? Cole, lovely.
Yeah. It was that question about knowing oneself, but that sounds a bit confusing when you say that consciousness can't see itself. And I'd sort of answered the question while I was sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an interesting one, isn't it? That consciousness is self-knowing, but it's not self-seeing.
I would say it sees a reflection of itself,
Well,
but not itself.
Yeah. Well. When you, yeah.
Can the eye see itself?
Yeah, well, that's right, exactly. I mean, I've said that lots of times, haven't I? It can't sit because it has to be object to be seen.
Yes.
But to know itself, it's not creating an object out of itself to see itself. It is self-aware.
Yes.
Or self-knowing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a good good wording.
Oh,
Bob, did you want to add something?
that's just the one self, what they call the atom self. Yeah. Not a personal self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to say I just love the way Bob presents this. Like, you see gurus all over the place, and they might have wonderful messages, and people are bowing down at their feet and kissing their hands and their feet and all that sort of thing. So I think Bob deserves the no bull surprise.
Oh,
No bull here.
I've got the bag on and it's full of it.
No bullshit surprise. No bullshit. Yeah, he shows you that you're no different. There's one. There's no separation. How could he be any different, any better, any bigger or wiser? Well, he's more lovable to me, but but that me is only a concept. It's only an appearance. But yeah, ultimately in the direct experience, there is no separation. As life, the boundaries that you put on yourself, that I am here and Bob is there, are only conceptual. They're only images brought back from the past, from that conditioning. In direct experience, there is just awareness of presence, right here, right now. And we may love the whole concepts, the whole dream appearing in that basic screen and appreciate, because how else could I really appreciate him fully if he was indistinguishable as a form? That's the only way that awareness or that consciousness reflects itself in the other and love itself and sees itself and appreciate itself. So that seeming separation, because we often do have also questions from people like, okay, but why do I see separate objects? Oh gosh, why not? Imagine if you didn't and you bang to the wall all the time. So it is the beauty of that whole dream, to see it but know the truth behind it. And that's the freedom, yes?
It's only the one, including everything is one.
Yeah, emptiness is form. It's expressing, appearing. How Gilbert brought up the title of a book that he actually beautifully transcribed and edited and put together of Bob's talks. One essence, expressing, appearing, expressing, experiencing, and expressing as itself, as everything. Yeah.
And the only other thing I'd like to say is for people who kind of are still trapped with, with the trying to get it in the mind. For me, I've heard the spiel many, many, many times now, and it just kind of seeps in. It's hard to explain, but you can't really put it into words. But the thing is, like, just the idea of not having to fight, of it being easy. I think Gilbert mentioned that as well, but that's Bob's continual message. It's not a fight, it's just, so everything that comes is just welcomed, no matter what the thought is. Yeah. And that's just such a sense of relief, instead of saying, I shouldn't be thinking that, or I'm like that, or I'm like that, or just letting it come. And that's just something that's been evolving for me over the last couple of weeks, is where the thoughts, it doesn't matter what they say, what they happens, doesn't matter, and it's just fleeting, it comes, it goes. But just encourage others just to keep listening to the message. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
And Kat.
Yes, and further on the oneness thing, the effortlessness that Gilbert was talking about, and you had another word, choicelessness as well, because awareness just is, and you can't choose to be aware. It just is, and it's the totality of everything appearing as nothing. Nothing appearing as everything. So there's nothing where you have to choose to be. I choose to be aware. Like you hear that sometimes, often in New Age sort of areas. I choose to be aware. And I think, what the hell are you talking about? Makes no sense at all. So, yeah, thank you for these sessions. They really are marvellous. And the no bull, that's a beauty. I love the no bull prize. It's a good one.
No bull.
It makes me want to come back when there's no bull.
Please do.
Just
Joseph.
Yeah, this morning was a very interesting morning to me. Like on the Joseph me, I going through like a relationship separation, but today morning my mother, which I decided to go for, and then my mother sent me something 2 days ago, and she sent me like a text, and I'm not sure if the content of the text is important or I could probably read it, but she was sending it to me 2 days ago, and I was just recognizing that as a text as she usually writes, what love is. and today morning I didn't know what to do, and I was thinking, oh, should I do this? Should I be in a thought? And let's look at this message again, what she was writing. And then she was writing underneath the message, which I did not read properly on that day. She sent it that she was enjoying the message. And then I was thinking, oh, okay, how could you enjoy the message? I was just taking it intellectually, and then I was reading it again, and then I was thinking, do I want to enjoy the message? And then I was thinking, oh, okay, there's a decision I have to make. And then I remember lately when I'm going through things and talking to people, how I make that sound. I spoke to a shaman yesterday, and I make that sound of inside, so I sort of, I don't know how to describe it, that resonating with what is. And then I started being okay with resonating, and then I start crying suddenly. Because then I'm realizing that the love my mother gives me with all these conversations and effort, trying to tell me I should come here or listen to this, or dealing with all the, conflicts in life. And then I thought, all this energy she puts in there, and the effort and the long conversations we're going through, that where's that coming from, that energy from her to me? And then I'm realizing that there's love. And then I'm realizing, beyond all these things, that the energy you put in there, because no one tells you to do that. Like, no one tells you, oh, you should grow up your children like this, and you just do it. But no one tells you to do it. It just happens. It's like you put all this effort in. I mean, and then I'm realizing, I do this as well with my son, right? Because he's 6, and I'm like, that's what I'm doing. And then I'm realizing, like, from the person I'm separating, she has 3 kids. I'm like thinking, that's what she's doing too. And then I also was crying because of that, and realizing, that's all the energy and the love she puts there. And then I'm realizing, and then all the energy I'm trying to put in there, and the frustration in the energy, which then to improve that complexity in with her kids, because it's too much chaos, and I'm trying to actually get more clarity in there, and the frustration went so big that it actually ended up breaking apart. But also the pattern of the me, like wanting attention and wanting connection and all this stuff, they play simultaneously in that as well. So overlapping, but that recognizing that beyond this frustration and all these topics were actually underlined is love. And I could feel it then, and I was crying, and then I was quite, I couldn't even describe it. It was literally an hour before I drove here, and then I was like, that's very interesting to see it, that is actually always then there. So that what happened today was pretty overwhelming.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
It
Thank you. It actually takes guts to see and recognize love, because there is still a lot of different fears associated. You may see how the love does them rather than they do love. You may see how life does love through your mother, through your partner, through yourself. That life is dancing itself as love. And once that love is recognized, where is the self in that? You actually are the field of recognition. There is no Joseph or Joseph recognizing that, they are doing this, that, or the other. It's just you are mind blown and heart open, recognizing that flow of life. And that is overwhelming for the mind, but it's absolutely beautifully, comfortably melting the heart, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's the natural state. That's the joyous, natural, ananda-like state where just let it flow. And you see that even in actions that are seemingly hurtful, you can see the same underlying pattern of life doing love. Sometimes that love is a little bit misguided through the selfishness, but it's still the same pattern. If you see life in everything, nothing needs to be fixed or changed. Yeah, keep recognizing it. And I see Kavisha has the magic wand.
Thanks, Joseph, for sharing that. I thought that was beautiful. Recently had a fallout with a family member misunderstanding something, and it was really amazing because usually in the past I would go, but I'm right, and she thinks she's right. And what happened was I went into the field that we talk about. It was really interesting. I realized that everybody's reaction to the situation that was apparently hurtful was all because of love, because they loved somebody and they were trying to protect them or whatever. And then I didn't feel so bad anymore. Like I didn't feel like, oh, they wronged me or whatever. So, well, it was because they love this person, they're speaking like that. And then once, and I love that person too, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying too. Then I realised we had just so much in common. Yeah. It wasn't a problem, you know. I mean, I'd like one day that the situation gets resolved, but I can't expect it. But at least I noticed, oh, I'm not in my old pattern of I'm right, they're wrong. Yeah. And that was a relief. That was really interesting. And like, because there's so much battles going on in the world, and it's because they're right and the others are wrong, right? And what's that one? You point, and there's three fingers pointing back to you, you know. Yeah.
Give us a love song, Kavisha.
A song?
Love
okay.
song.
Okay.
And Marty wanted to want before you get ready.
No, I think a love song would be better.
She needs to get a guitar.
Or a man.
Yeah, I was just going to say, sorry, following on from what Kavisha was saying too, is that so much is coming out of love, but it's like within, like the family, my brother and my dad and everything, but we all have our point of view, and that's like to want to change somebody else's point of view is impossible, but that acceptance of that point of view, irrespective of what it is, you can see that it is actually coming out of that love. It's just they see it like that, I see it like this, somebody else sees it a different way, and it's
do not try to see through somebody.
Yeah, and that's getting back to that, and it's just the point of view is just let it happen.
Yeah, well, it's also about wanting attention. Like this seeming addiction to wanting more attention from others, and it's because there's a lack of attention here. Come back to right here, right now. I have all the attention I need. And I don't. If I put the emphasis on another wanting their attention, it's a lack, unless it's included in awareness. And awareness is expansive; it includes everything. Consciousness, fixation on the content of consciousness can feel very contracting. But when, like, and Nisargadatta says, be conscious of the consciousness, and be aware of being aware. What happens when that's there? The attention is full.
Completeness.
Attention without tension.
Beyond that is right doing, there is a feeling.
Kavisha sings well. Thanks a lot, Kavisha. And Vivek also says, lovely singing. And Valeria says, thank you everyone for the lovely pointers. Greetings from Brisbane. We miss you all.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow on from what everyone else was saying and just talk about, you know, the amount of nonsense that goes on in this room. And, you know, I'm a part of that nonsense as well. Don't get me wrong, but
inseparable.
Yeah. So I just want to add to the nonsense and you know, try and level the nonsense up a little bit by telling a story. Because I know you guys like stories, so. So the story of the boat that has to cross the stream. I think Dean knows the story as well. You know, and they talk about the stream is like on the other side of the stream is this, I don't know, heaven, I guess, and you know, the boat represents you know, taking up a spiritual practice. You know, for us, sitting in this room listening to Bob say the same thing every week, and we cross. You know, we end up building the raft, and then we cross this river. And then we get to the other side and we're just too afraid to let go of the raft, you know. We just want to hold on to being spiritual and, you know, being non-dual and talking about all these non-dual ideas. And so we'll never really get to, you know, experience that real heaven until we let go of this raft. So, yeah. That's all the bullshit I have to say.
No bull.
Oh, good one. Yeah, no bull, very no bull. Yeah.
We're going to sign up, no bull here.
Yeah, relinquishing the boat or the raft of spiritual concepts. What a noble idea. Because Bob sometimes quotes the big book of AA, that nothing happens until you let go absolutely. How did that go? That we've let go of some of the concept and we got a little bit of an improvement. You remember how did it go?
Oh, can't think of it at the moment. What can
Yeah, make your homework. In 3 weeks he is turning 64 years of sobriety, so make sure you do your homework. No worries. Anyway, any idea that you find a freedom from extends and expands the amount of the freedom. If you're even free from one concept, and obviously everyone is free from tons of concepts, from the concepts that you were holding on to as a child, you know, I am a good little boy or a bad little girl. Those concepts are gone. So we all know how it is to be free from concepts, from some or the other idea. It's just that thing that I don't remember. Bob's the specialist on that. How to let go completely. I mean, it is not an action of me letting go of something, because there is no me and no something. It is a recognition of that field that Kavisha was thinking about, in which that letting go is already a fact. There is a field, there is a clear field in which nothing is held onto, in which everything slides through. So it is, rather than me dropping off something or the other, is relaxing out of that tension and finding out that what I am is already free from all of the ideas, letting them move through. Like Andy was saying, choiceless awareness, the choicelessness of it. Choices may float through, decisions may float through, thoughts, ideas. They're all free to move on. There's no one there to hold on to, even if they take space for a little bit longer. The freedom is here.
I just want to bring up something that that's still impressing upon me. It came from the words that Kavisha was singing, beyond the ideas of right doing and beyond their ideas of wrongdoing. Basically, a friend in Hong Kong was, I heard that she died of cancer, and it was quite a shock. She's sort of, somebody I knew. And the news came to me last night that she committed suicide. And how it happened, just through what I've heard, is she basically couldn't pay the rent. And she, the bailiffs came to the door, and she said, "Give me a few minutes," and she went up on top of the roof and jumped.
Oh. Wow.
And this lady was so inspirational to the world, you can say. She was in improv, acting. She was, her birthday's around the same time as me, and always, every year, she was out on the street giving hugs, free hugs for birthday. She was so full of it. She was just, full on all the time. She was bubbling over. And to see this, it just, I reflect in it so deeply, because I see that spiral in Hong Kong especially, how people, and the world over, in fact, how we can kid ourselves. What is it that would take us to that nth degree to jump? How far do you take yourself so seriously? And I thank God that, that I got out of it, because I was there at one point, I was taking myself seriously, and there was no way that I could live any other way than this way, and it had to be like so, and to the nth degree that I would run and I would keep up the facade, and God bless her, that she couldn't see through it. And thank God for us that we can. That's all. It's just a facade. I remember travelling through India with sadhus, sleeping at railway stations and at, around temples and stuff. And I tasted it so sweetly. There's nothing here. There's nothing here that I need to hold on to, that I can't be, that I should be, that there's no story. It's all made up, And when you see through that, and you're prepared to do anything, there's nothing that you cannot do, It's ridiculous to think that to hold on to anything, that is so sweet, and there's so much freedom in that. And just knowing that intrinsically, that I have continued my life as such, and it's all over the place, in and out, hot and cold, up and down, and it's life, but beyond the ideas of right doing and beyond the ideas of wrong doing, there's a field, and that's where we are. It's who we are. Because all the rest is bullshit. Very natural.
Very beautiful.
I just want to say that those words are the words of Jalaluddin Rumi, the poet, not my words. I just love those words, and I thought, I'll make up a little song to remind myself.
The melody is yours.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
Look out behind you.
Stepping out of the war, yeah?
The words themselves come from the field as well.
Yeah.
Just wanted to pick up a thread of what Gilbert said earlier about something like a comment of, I'm no good. Something like that, along those lines. He said that's a mantra. Well, just breaking down the word mantra, the first syllable man in Sanskrit means it's related to man, one who thinks and contemplates, and it's related to the mind, and the tra is related to a trick or magic. So you get the sense of this, the trick of the mind that condemns us to think in terms like, I'm no good, I'm not worth anything, things like that. But like any trick, it could vanish instantly. And then the opposite appears, that no, there's nothing wrong. Everything I ever thought about myself was not true. It just drops away, and then what's left is everything, but it's everything that's unconstricted by these clouds of thought. So it's mantra is not a fixed thing like someone might say karma. Karma is fixed. No, it's just a trick we play on ourselves.
We have a couple of comments here from Deborah. She says, beautiful group. And Valeria was talking about greetings and gratitude from Brisbane, and Julia, our American Julia, replied that I'm near Brisbane now and miss them too. I'm grateful for the community and especially to Bob and Kat for creating this. Thank you, Julia. We are not creating anything, it's the life. It's the only creator. But it is creating through everyone, and we are also grateful for all of you to let that life shine through your eyes and share that love for the truth with us. Anyone? Oh, Josh.
Not to be contrary to Gilbert, but actually, if you really consider what looking through the experience of looking through someone else's eyes, it could be exactly the same as looking through your own eyes. I know something that Bob often says is, what's the first thing that you see, and that's space. And there's no one who's not looking out from that space, that same space. And so any ideas of superiority or inferiority are
just ideas.
Exactly, yeah. Separate, yeah. So I think that's a beautiful thing, and it's something from the Headless Way. For me, the experience of considering, these people who I look toward for guidance and support, that they're looking out of the same space. They're looking through the same kind of field that we're talking about here, and that's it's incredibly beautiful, because you realize, the highest being, whoever that might be, you might consider that as Ramana Maharishi or Bob or anyone, Nisargadatta.
You're actually quoting Siddha Rameshwar that Gilbert was talking about.
Oh, really?
The guru of Nisargadatta,
yes.
Who says not to look through someone else's eyes.
Do not try to see.
Do not try to see.
Don't see as the person.
No,
I can't.
I see you're a total idiot.
Oh, fuck.
Go on.
Well, yeah. Well, there's not really anything else to add to that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but that is actually a brilliant example, or actually, it's a brilliant example of how, what Bob is saying is to look beyond the pointer and resonate with the energy behind it rather than words, because absolutely trying not to see through everyone's eyes, what Siddharameshwar was suggesting, is not exactly be a psychopath, non-empathetic creature who doesn't feel anyone, don't jump to other people's shoes. All those things are valid in their own context. But in the context of non-duality, like Gilbert was pointing, you can't do that. Quit trying, because that's impossible. So instead, focus on here now, rather than just transplanting your imaginary consciousness or imagining yourself elsewhere. Start here, be here. Although arguing with pointer is equally welcomed, and thank you for bringing it up, because no pointer is ever it. It's just a pointer, it's a finger pointing at the moon. Don't worry about the finger. Just find that resonance in which it rings the bell within, here, not elsewhere. That's what all the pointers are about.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, well, another one I love, and what kind of dawned on me earlier was the considering of whether a thought is present during deep sleep kind of creates the opening or gap to consider, well, if that thought's not there, I guess it's similar to what's wrong with right now if you don't think about it.
Only it is not right now, because you are not in a deep sleep right now, are you?
No, yeah.
It's conceptual, you're imagining.
Yeah.
Only if I believe I'm eating.
Don't adopt that mantra.
But you do know you've had a good sleep.
Yeah. How?
Now. You know it now.
It's great to hear that, Josh.
Yeah, beautiful.
All questions are stupid questions. I heard one teacher say many years ago. But
and nothing's good or bad.
Yeah, but there are some great questions that there's no psychological answer to. And one of them is, where are you seeing from? The intellect can't come up with an answer. And it kind of pauses the thinking. If you're serious, where am I seeing from? Can I find a place that there's an I seeing or me seeing? No, there's just seeing, and it's all inclusive. It doesn't have a centre, and it doesn't have a boundary. If you have a telescope that goes, you look through the telescope, it's included in the seeing, because the seeing doesn't have any boundaries. The eyes actually don't see. They're instruments of seeing. Like a telescope is an instrument. It needs a conscious being to look through it. But the conscious being is appearing in the seeing. Everything appears in the seeing. You turn a corner and there's an elephant. Oh, I didn't know that was there. Everything is unexpected. All of our experiences are unexpected. The expected, as Nisargadatta said, the expected rarely happens. The unexpected always happens. So, the psychological realm that we think that we live in has an idea of me in it. And everything is related to me. For the general public, they're relating everything to me. This is good, this is bad. But the me is a fiction, and that's what non-duality is pointing at. But it's like nobody really wants to get that, because it takes the fun out of it. But if all of the psychological suffering comes from the belief in being a separate entity, so the investigation of that is imperative. If you and Nisargadatta said you cannot transcend something unless you know exactly what it is. You have to study and see what it is that's trapping me psychologically, and it's always me. So it's simple, really simple. It can't be more simple. And what substance does an idea or a concept have? None. You can't weigh it on a machine, or You know, it doesn't weigh 0.1 of a gram or something. A concept has no substance or independence. It's just an appearance that comes and goes. And that which comes and goes is not reality. And the me disappears in deep sleep. It's not there. So, Hari Ram, Hari Krishna.
Yeah, I have a comment here from Ram. And time's up, Bob saying. Comment from Ram. He says, Anita's is actually Linda's. Linda's story reminded me of David Black, who jumped in front of a train 12 years ago. Someone who spoke this message so well. I asked Bob in disbelief why. Bob said the intelligence energy manifests the pattern into existence and then takes it out. How it chooses to do. And thank you for that, Ram. I wanted actually to drop a little comment on that because I got also a couple of emails lately of people who were dealing with someone close to them, dropping out, committing suicide. I also had a little chat with ChatGPT, watching that highly, sharply increasing pattern of antidepressants being used for medication and suicide rates skyrocketing in the society, being ever more and more miserable and less happy. And I had my best friend committing suicide also 12 years ago, actually 14 now, who adopted a thought, like you suspect the person that jumped off the window had a thought that basically developed like to a disease that killed the mind, the body-mind. This friend I knew, the thought I was in India, she sent it to me as a text message. But there is a possibility that we don't really know how and what has happened. There are also situations where people with absolute clarity and zero fear of death, zero fear of dying, just had enough and die in their sleeps. There are stories about seniors of in like the native Indians or Aboriginal people who just basically are so in tune in nature that they just basically go with the flow and allow themselves to, for that life forces to extinguish. It's not necessarily a hate for being or this ability to adjust to a new situation without the house or whatever. We don't really know what happens, how life, and I love how Ram actually put it, how life or the consciousness or intelligence energy manifests the pattern into existence and how it takes it out and why it takes it out. We do like our stories about it, but the truth is we don't really know. And that person that lately I got the email from, he was dealing with the situation and recognizing that one life behind everything and finding the acceptance underlying the shakiness of it, because the preciousness that we give to that expression of life, which is temporary anyway, and whether you like it or not, one day it will end, it will extinguish, so who cares really whether it is now or tomorrow or in 100 years. But yeah, that's that. I just kind of wanted to add to it, and thank you, Ram, for that.
Just briefly, I did have an experience in India, Gilbert, where I turned a corner and I smacked my nose on an elephant. And it was a beautiful thing. I thought, I'm in India. This is amazing. But further to the awareness thing, and the effortlessness, choicelessness, and non-locality of awareness, that even though we experience awareness here in each of us, it is non-local, and that's the beauty of it. Yeah. So, because there's only one. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.